Okay, so welcome back to the Family Constellation Virtual Training. Let me share the screen so I can show you what we're up to today. That won't take a minute, a second actually. So, today, the title of today's teaching module or content, or actually the weekend, because we are meeting 3 days again, as always, is a title with Going with the Spirit. Now, as you know me, I like to take Bert Hellinger, like to quote Bert Hellinger, and that is something that a term he has developed. He has called his latest work in family constellation in German, Gehen mit dem Geiste, which is translated in English into English as Going with the Spirit or Going with the Spirit Mind. Now, I just want you to recap the development family constellation has taken under Bert Hellinger's regime. So he has started with family constellation developed from a psychotherapy, which is called family sculpturing. He got that from America. That was just the methodology of family therapy with kind of standard psychotherapy methods. Then he has found that when he, instead of using figurines, when he uses people and he sits quietly there and waits and has no expectations other than the psychotherapists who always have expectations, right? You know, like there's a couple comes to therapy, they are fighting. What wants the psychotherapist? They want them to stop fighting and go back into a honeymoon state or something like that, right? Normally, I mean that, or so there's. But he was just sitting there observing and had no, like he was, nothing. And then he discovered that actually the representatives who are representing family members, they started to move and say something, not without being asked to say something, and that was surprising also what they said. So that was the whole start of family constellation. So from this family sculpturing, while you're moving people around the way you have in your mind how you want the family to be, right? Is like, okay, let them move themselves. And now we discovered the field, the morphogenetic field, and then the whole system was discovered with the family soul and the family system, and then the dynamics and the orders of life. This is all coming from there, right? So after this phase of development and discovery, he has named this family constellation movement of the souls. That was then his big thing, right? We are observing movements of the soul. And that was often, and then you can actually see when facilitators are using this methodology, you see that's where they have been trained, which is about 20 years ago or 15 years ago, that you are placing your family system there. And you're normally gathering information from your family, and then you come to a workshop with this information, and then you've been asked to put up father, mother, siblings, blah blah blah, this and that, and going in the direction, and then they see how the souls are moving, and then they find out where the dynamic is, right? This was what family constellation was, until he has discovered that actually you can go right into the issue without having the whole family represented, right? You can sit there, connect with the morphic field, and go with the spirit and be guided right to where, if it was 7 generations before or 3 generations before or in the current generation, wherever it is, you are guided right into it. And that was a big step. And he called it the new family constellation. And that is what I've been trained in, and that's what you are learning. Yeah? So that doesn't, just a second, Claudia. That does not mean that the old family constellation is overwritten. You still have therapists who do that. Yeah, and it is just much longer. It takes much more time. You need much more people for. It is a little bit exhausting for everyone, right? And it is still and it doesn't have this this strength, you know, what the new family constellation has. So this is why module 4 is titled with Going with the Spirit, in recognition of his development, which he calls the new family constellation. Not because we are talking now about the new family constellation, because we are talking about the spiritual world. And I found it was a nice, you know, use of words, if you will. Okay, so Claudia, you got a question.
Not really a question, Maya. I just received a text from Julie that she forgot to book the module 4 and now it's closed.
Ah.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know.
Okay, so do you have to give me now a minute can you send her the link?
I don't know, because I've got her on WhatsApp. I don't know how to send the link on WhatsApp.
Just copy paste the link.
Yeah, copy paste the link.
Can you ask her her email?
Yeah,
Claudia, ask her her email and forward it to me to my WhatsApp, and I will forward the email if you want to.
Okay, okay.
Let's do that.
So this is what we are looking in this module, Going with the Spirit. Now, before I share the first slide with you, I would like you to understand that in my world and the way I teach family constellation facilitating and systemic and energy healing, you do not need to believe in anything. I want you to experience everything for yourself. But I also want you to not to disbelieve in anything neither. Right? This is what we call an open mind. And as you all know, being spiritually advanced beings, the truth is nothing we talk about or see, or, you know, it is what it is. It is just there. What we are talking about as can all just, including family constellation, can all be just being called a concept, right? The orders of love is a concept. It works beautifully. But you don't need to believe in the orders of love, and you don't need to disbelieve in the orders of love. You just apply them as a concept for healing, and it works, and yay, you know? So be really clear today, tomorrow, and on Sunday. I don't ask you to, you know, leave your belief systems behind or whatever. I just ask you not, you know, don't be bothered. You can have your belief system, you can have any religion, any spirituality, anything you want. What we are looking at is a concept now that you need an open mind for, because I can guarantee you, this is why it's part of the training, it brings you much knowledge. Knowledge that you can use for your own personal development and for helping others. It is beautiful, and it is a concept that we apply. That's all it is, right? Okay, so what are we looking at is in part 1, which is today, we are looking at a spiritual and emotional healing and at foreign energies. Tomorrow, we are looking at trauma and birth energies and the interrupted movement towards the mother. And then on Sunday, we are looking at regressions and past lives. And that also leads us to the topic of death, which we look at Sunday. Yeah? Okay, so let's jump right into part 1. Which is titled Spiritual and Emotional Healing and Foreign Energies. So the overview over today's module, what healing why? So you might think, well, that's such a silly question, but it's actually a good question. You will understand why in a few minutes. We will talk about what is emotional healing, and we will talk about the so-called frequencies of emotions. We will talk about spirit, birth and death in general. We will talk about the planes of existence. We will talk about spiritual colors. We will talk about spiritual healing. And we will also talk about attached spirits and possessive energies. And we have actually a fun and very, hopefully, a very deep exercise for you. Oh, she comes through. That's great. Yay. Thank you, Rocio. So this is a full program. So without any further ado, let's start it. So why healing? That's the big question. So hands up. Who has a spontaneous answer to this question? Yes, Mana.
Why healing? I say why not?
Very good. Answer a question with a question. I like that. Why not? Anyone else?
For me, it's freedom. Healing, it's equals to freedom. Yeah.
Very good.
Healing means actually that you can get on with your life and not being held back, removing blockages. They are not yours.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yes, I like all these answers. Hi, Julie. You made it. Yay.
Hi, Maya. Sorry. I forgot
heard.
to book in again.
Yeah, you will not forget it again.
No, ever. Already done number 5.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I will say healing to live a fulfilled life.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. I like all these answers, and they are quite a kind of, you know, logical and obvious. But if I ask it another way, then the question becomes more clear. If we are learning in our first module that the most important part is acknowledging what is. The most important part is to be content with what is. Why are we not content in the state of being we are in? Right? Why do we feel the need of healing? That is when this question comes to life, right? Okay. And I don't want you to discuss it in greater length here. I would like you to put that in your notebook and maybe write about it, or maybe just you know, dwell on this question. Maybe put something in the group chat about it. That would be kind of like an assignment for some homework. To think about it on a really deep level, you know. Why we want to heal when we also want to acknowledge what is and living in the moment. Yeah. Okay. But of course, everything you said is also true, right? So that is like a divine dichotomy or something like that. Who's in better in English? Yeah, Mana?
Dichotomy.
Dichotomy, thank you. You know, it's both is true. Both is true, right? And both can live next to each other without any problems, right? So, spiritual healing and emotional healing are words that are probably mixed up often, or where kind of it's not quite clear what is the distinction here. And this is why in today's module we are talking about the realms of existence, because then it makes much more clear what is spiritual healing, what is emotional healing, what are we actually healing, and from where, right? We're also talking about what energy is, because of course energetic healing is also part of what we do, right? So in most of the energy healings, you know, Reiki and other modalities, you use your hands. Why can you use your hands for healing? Because, Alessandra?
Because our hands are the extensions of our heart.
I
And
like that
the
as the
heart
answer.
is able to connect with the highest frequencies of energy.
From love, eh? Healing from love.
yes.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, I like that too. There's also another explanation from my teacher, Malcolm Southwood. He has a whole 1-year course which I have done on how the hands have actually energies, electric and magnetic energies, and how they actually, on a physical level, heal. But that's not part of our training. By just saying, that is all under energy healing, right? So energy healing can be with an open heart or physically with your hands and everything in between, right? What it doesn't do, it doesn't come with information. Like in family constellation, we are adding information. In energy healing, you do not add any information. You know, you're working like completely without thoughts or without knowledge, or you're not gaining any knowledge. You don't want to know about anything. You don't want, it's just, you are there present with your energy, and you invite people in your energy field, and you give energy to somebody who needs it, right? So that's the difference from energy healing to spiritual and emotional healing. Spiritual and emotional healing also deals with energies, but it adds information. Information, that's the important difference. Okay, let's talk briefly about what are emotions. I mean, this is also like, it seems like an obvious question, but it's not so clear. Like, what substance is an emotion? What consistency, Julie?
It's energy, isn't it?
It's
Like
energy.
they say, energy in motion. It's the energy going in the
Emotion.
body. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I like that. So then the question is this energy? What makes this emotion? Energy and motion? Or do you need information as well?
Information as well
You do, eh?
for emotion. Yeah.
If you make another, if you haven't done so yet, self-observation. I'm a great fan of self-observation because you are the best playground for, gaining knowledge and experience. You can have a thought of something really dreadful and you are down in a minute. Your physical body is down, you can measure it, and you have really, really low vibrating emotions. Or on the other hand, you can have a very uplifting thought, and within a minute you are in bliss and everything is great. And so we are creating an emotion. Before the emotion, there is a thought, either knowingly or unknowingly, which we call conditioning, right? So we can either do it deliberately or we are victim to our thought pattern, yeah? Which then becomes a repeated pattern, which then becomes a manifested emotion, which in the end manifests in the body. And when an emotion manifests in the body, we call that an illness. So we are dealing with three, like that's very basic, of course, but we don't need to know more. We can handle. We are dealing with three realms here: the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual realm. And on all three levels, there can be distress. Well, I cannot say all three. Let's say at the physical and the emotional level, there can be distress. Yeah. that is based on thought. Yeah. The cat is coming in. She loves, look, cats love module 4. Whoever has a cat, I guarantee they will show up in this module. So, enough about emotions. What I really want to talk about is the frequency of emotion. Do you know that every emotion has a frequency? There's a very, very comprehensive book of, I have a brain freeze that will come in a second.
David Hawkins, is it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very comprehensive. So if you haven't, it's on the list actually of recommended books. If you haven't read it, read it. It's also Audible. It's great. He has so thoroughly, from a standpoint of a scientist or a practitioner, he was a psychotherapist, I think, or something. He has so thoroughly inquired and discovered with the modalities of muscle testing what frequency each emotion has, and there is a pattern. And he made a chart, and we talk about that. That shows us this, and this is also completely in line with all ancient spiritual teachings, from the Vedas over the I don't know, whatever you look at, wherever, Gnostics, wherever you look at, right? It all comes down to the same sayings, to the same teaching. So it is really, it is just modern science, you know. So now we talk about what is the spirit. Obvious question. So what is the spirit? Now I would like you to give me some ideas what you think what the spirit is. Or yes, let's say the spirit, or spirituality. Claudia.
I think it's it's a part of us you can't see, but it's full of memories and thought patterns from former lives. And once we are passing away, that our spirit self goes back from wherever we came from. So that's my understanding of it.
Okay. How's about spirituality and religion? Any thoughts on that? So often spirituality is kind of equal religion, right? Yeah. So which is not correct, but it's kind of hijacked. Spirituality is hijacked by religions, like, if you will. So what is spirit? We will talk about that. I have another slide for that. We will also talk about the spiritual worlds and the spiritual colors and the process of birth and death on a spiritual, or from the perspective of the spirit, from a spiritual perspective, right? No religion. Okay. So we have talked about why healing. I just quickly check if we have covered everything. So just, you know, when we say acknowledging what is, and when we come from this state of oneness, right? Then we think everybody and everything is what it is perfect, as it is, right? Why would we change that? Why would we change why would we want anyone to change, right? So that's the question that lies behind this. But of course, we want to let go. You all said that. We want to let go of pain and trauma. Because it does, and you all said that, does hinder us on our way to freedom and happiness. So yes, you can accept that everything is fine as it is, and you can still want to advance. That's possible, right? You want also sometimes just to change the perspective, because if you have a specific pain or a specific issue, then you are living your whole life from this perspective. For example, if you, since your teenage years, you think you have a big butt, your whole life, you're looking at everything from this perspective. You are dressing yourself so it's flattering. You are never showing your butt to anybody. You know, you're thinking permanently about your butt. This is just an example. Could be anything. Teeth, like, you know, teeth that are not, whatever it is, big boobs or no boobs or anything, really, anything. And then the whole life is lived from this perspective. And one day you think enough is enough. I want to look at my life before I die from another perspective. Because there will be a whole new life and experience and world lies in front of you. And then you make the decision. Okay, I don't care about my butt, teeth, boobs anymore. That is what it is. Let's go ahead, right? Instead of fighting and doing diets and doing spiritual healing about the butt and emotional healing about the butt, and you know what I mean. You just say, okay, it's enough. I want to change the perspective. And that is the healing movement. This decision made. Often it's just that. I am fed up with that. Now let's just do something else. Because there's so much more to discover. Having said that, the purpose of life is to have a very narrow tunnel view on things, which we call individuality. Yeah. So the purpose of life is not that we come with the sense of oneness and we are everything, because it wouldn't make no sense. We have this earthly experience to come with individual traits that nobody else has, to have this individual perspective on everything. And thus creating a complete new universe, complete unique, because nobody else thinks that way, right? And because nobody else thinks and feels that way, nobody else sees what you see. And that's the exciting news, right? And that's the purpose, one of the purposes why we are here with this narrow tunnel view. So it's great to, you know, look at life from the perspective of having a big butt, but you can decide when in your lifetime, I had enough. That's boring. Now let's do something else. Let's look at it from another perspective, right? True healing is only enabled on a spiritual level, right? That is really important, because we know that, like classic, you know, health practitioners, they are even neglecting emotions, let alone the spirit. They're only looking at the physical body. And we all know healing, it fails there. They are only medication people. That's medicating people, right? Or breaking bones or gluing bones together or something, you know. But why there was an accident, why, you know, there was like the real cause of everything is not inquired. And that's the majority of people, obviously. I mean, the vast majority of people, by the way. No, it's not, you know, it's not that the or that really a large group of people are knowing what we know or looking there where we look. They don't. They don't. So, and we will go through all the steps, of course, in this module. I just want to give you this: creativity is life's purpose. That is simple as that. And for creativity, you need individuality, right? And to be individual means you have this thought pattern and not the other. Yeah. So here we come into full circle, acknowledging what your individuality, your personality is amazing. Yeah. Because it's you. That's so simple. And nobody else is like that. And the good news is, if you feel that for yourself, you can feel it for everybody else as well. And that is where freedom comes. Now, all of a sudden, nobody needs to be like you. We have this tendency, we have this tendency. Why is he doing this? Why is she thinking this? Why is she dressed like this? This is a tendency, as if we want to clone ourselves. Why is she not dressed like me? Why doesn't she think like me? Why does you just imagine you would meet yourself everywhere? That is so boring and so spooky, you know. So we right there we catch ourselves with this impossible thoughts, right? So once you come to this point of acknowledging how life works and what is your purpose on earth, you are freeing yourself by freeing everybody else. If you free everybody else, they can do whatever they want. That's great news, great for the whole universe, whatever they do, including mass murderers and including, I don't know, governments even. they can, you know, that's all right on an individual level. That's all right, you know, because they are just creating, expressing a unique individuality and creating something. And whatever it is good. Because that's life's purpose. Simple as that. So let's talk about emotional healing. When we talk about emotional healing, we are talking about healing the soul, not the body. Now, I'm not quite sure if it comes up here. We have to look what's the difference between spirit and soul. We all know what the body is, so that's not a problem. Everything you can touch and feel is physical world, right? But now we have thoughts and emotions, and there is no touch and no feel to them, right? They're invisible. And what we call spirit or spirituality is also invisible. So this is all invisible. Now we need to know what we are talking about to see where we do what and what can we use to heal. And I come back to what I talked about at the beginning of this day, is Bert Hellinger started to see movements of the soul, right? That was his family constellation. Movements of the souls, if you think about what did he really see, you know now what you see when you ask a representative. What do you ask them?
What are you feeling?
Yay! You ask them for the emotion. So what you see or what he saw was a movement of emotions. Yeah? And he could have called it movement of emotions, but he called it movement of the souls. Because in fact, emotions and souls are the same. The soul is in the emotional body of a human being and maybe also an animal being, if they have one. I'm not quite sure about that. But definitely the human emotional body is the soul. And when we talk about soul journey, we acknowledge that the emotion is not gone when the body dies. Why would it? The body is the physical, you know, the material. Everything else is actually not buried anywhere. Everything we talked about, which is invisible, which are thoughts and emotions and spirit, is still there. And now what we commonly say as a soul is the emotional body that is created during a lifetime. Goes on a journey. We call that the soul journey. So all emotion, this is why we can go in past lives and release trauma, which is emotion, trapped emotion. This is all bundled up and growing over lifetimes. And it's all embedded in the soul. So we are, when we are applying true healing and not only medicating the body, is that we want to free the soul from this emotion. That's what we want to do. That's healing. And then wherever it is manifested in the body, this will heal eventually. And this is what family constellation does, allowing the emotion, like the anger, or this neglect, or whatever you see in a family constellation, this dismissal, allowing this emotion, this soul, to move towards unity, towards love. Yeah, that's all that happens. And then it dissolves. This emotion dissolves. It's not anymore trapped in the emotional body. What is that the question, Alessandra?
Yes, I wanted to ask you if this place of unity where the soul moves in the healing could be called the spirit.
Okay, hold the thought. We are not there yet. You will understand it probably by the end of the day, if not by the end of the module. Yeah. So just we will all go there. Yeah. I just want to take one step at a time so you can all follow me. Okay. And I'm not losing anyone on my way here through this quite interesting and different context or concept, as I said at the beginning. So putting effort into that which lasts is the first step for everyone on their spiritual journey. Because everybody else is putting effort only in that what doesn't last, the body. The looks of the body, for example, the health of the body, longevity for the body, Botox, whatever you look at, right? This is putting effort and ego, of course. Ego is body, right? So this is all putting effort in that what doesn't last. Well, if you would be a businessman, you wouldn't do that, right? You wouldn't invest in that. You would invest in that what lasts. But people, when it comes to the most precious thing they have, their life, then all of a sudden this is all different. This is so interesting, right? So when you think to yourself, okay, I'm done with my butt thing, I'm done with my teeth thing, this is all not lasting in a few years, this is all nothing, what will last? And then you go on your journey, and then you find out there is something like the soul. So the emotions will last. So what am I doing? I have to work on my anger issues. I have to work on my grief. I have to work on my whatever low vibrating emotion I have. Because they will not go when I die. Same with thoughts. They will always be there because they even come before emotions. So the thought body, if you will always be there. So to purify your thoughts is a basic teaching in yoga, for example, or in Buddhism, or wherever you look at, right? Because you take your thoughts with you. This is what lasts. No? And if you have judgmental thoughts towards yourself or others, this is what lasts. Creating negative emotion that are low vibrating and bringing you back into a physical body which will suffer again. Because these emotions will manifest in the next body. So this question, and this is why I say no belief system here. You have to ask yourself this question. What lasts? Where do I want to put my effort in? What is that? And then you come to this inevitably. You come to this conclusion. And then who is doing the work? Now this is the spirit, right? And this is why Bert Hellinger is then the new family constellation titled Going with the Spirit Mind. because the soul is not actually working. The soul is hoarding emotions, yeah? But that's all. There's really nothing the soul can do other than journeying through lifetimes, like a backpack, you know, where all the emotions are in. And then every time you have a new body, you put this backpack on. And then when something is triggered, you pull out this emotion and that emotion, or this thought pattern and this thought pattern, and then it's all again, all over the same. But the spirit is the one who can show you your backpack. It can say, hey, look, what do you have on your back? And spirit will tell you, take it off your back and look inside. You know, open it up, undo the whole backpack, and then take it out. Take it out, look in it, take it out. What is in there? Take it out, take this emotion, look at it. Where does it come from? What lifetime? What happened here? What? And then you will look at it, and then you can let it go. And then your backpack is empty at one stage, a lot lighter and empty at one stage. So you don't come again with a backpack. And then I give it away, you don't come at all. So I give it away. Last part. So, okay, let's talk about energy quickly. We have done that before. We just go through. I just want you to you know, visualize it better. Unseen forces. We are only talking about unseen forces: energy, emotion, thoughts, spirit, all unseen forces, right? We're not talking about this physical body anymore. It's the same like electric power. And how it was discovered. We all know there is electricity. We use it all the time. Nobody can see it. It's invisible. But for us, it's like tangible. We even pay for it. No? So that's the same with thoughts. That's the same with emotions. That's the same with any kind of spiritual energies. Right? It is there. We just can't see it. That's all. And this is also the beauty when we do family constellation and we see the representatives, how they getting this information and this movement and this emotion, and they are so certain about it. And we are, where is it coming from, right? It's invisible, but it is clearly there. It's only we are lacking the instruments to make it visible. That's all. Another thing another concept I would like to introduce you to is that thoughts are nothing that you create. I don't know whether it's good news or bad news. I hope it's good news, because it is. Every attempt of science whatsoever or spiritual mastery to find the source of thoughts in an individual has failed so far. There is no evidence that a thought is created by an individual. Yeah? So if this is kind of a new thought for you, great. If it's not a new thought for you, also great. There's more behind. But just picture for now all thoughts that any human ever can have is already there. Like in information in the morphogenetic field, because it's outside of time and space. So that means thoughts that somebody, like an inventor, has probably in 1,000 years on the physical world, like writing it down, is already in the field present. Yeah? Cannot be different because there is no time and space outside the physicality. Time and space are bound to physicality, okay? To objects. So thinking about that is when you have a thought, what you're doing, you're tapping, like we do in family constellation, we are tapping into the field of thoughts. We are not creating it in our brains. There is no amino acids, you know, creating a thought. That's not what's happening. We are radios. We are getting signals. So the question is now, why do I think something and then Julie thinks something else and Rossio another thing, right? This is because we are individuals and we are only streaming thoughts that are fitting into our belief system or in our conditioning, in our worldview. We can only stream these thoughts. We are incapable of streaming others. So therefore, your thoughts are unique, but not because you have created them. You have created the environment for these thoughts to come to you, right? And I let that sit. Yes, Mana?
Maya, would this also be true on how we feel about people? Like, say, I love your energy. Would that be my own thought, or is that like, how would you interpret thoughts about other people?
It comes from yourself, definitely. It's all you. It's your perception. It's you, it's what you stream. Yeah. That doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't have the same. So when you have a thought, somebody else can have the thought, or when you have an emotion, somebody else can have the emotion. But the totality of thoughts and emotions is unique to you.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, but because the thought is already there, and the thousands, millions of people can have the same thought at the same time, and often they do. Okay, hands up. Okay, that's cool. Oh, let's go. Rocio.
Well, your thoughts depends on your frequency as well. So the thoughts that you, because you just say that you're radio, right? So would you actually get the download that aligns with your frequency as well? Or is just about like your, what you said before, like preconcepts or like beliefs? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not sure if I can answer that question.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But I don't think it matters, you know,
Okay.
because what is attracting the thought is the complexity of your beingness.
Okay.
And that certainly has a frequency, everything has a frequency, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know whether you can take in like pieces out of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
So it's basically your perception of what is going on, that it comes from your previous experience and your family and all that stuff. Okay.
And everything, and past lives and everything.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
thing, the whole backpack thing as well. You know? And of course that creates a frequency, and somehow this is attracting specific thoughts. But if you can take out like one particular thought to one particular part of your energy, I don't know. Right? That's
okay.
Yes, Julie.
Maya, I don't know if this is a question, but I just had a thought about brainwashing. Would it be that some people are more susceptible to that because then it'd be on their, whatever, say the topic was about, say at the moment with the narrative regarding COVID, you know, there's some people that are really bought into the narrative, and then there's other people that aren't as bought into that narrative or that brainwashing. Would that be just a result again of your previous perceptions? And
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If you have been conditioned or brainwashed into the news always telling the truth, and the government has only the health and wealth of the people in their minds, then that is what you get. That's your perspective. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Claudia.
The way I perceive it, it's like, I think that we're all our own radio station. And then when you resonate with another person, obviously they are very much on the same frequency of that radio station. And so, you know, you like you have listeners. A radio station has got listeners. Not everybody listens to the same radio station, but you've got certain amounts of listeners for each radio station. Maybe that would help to understand of how that works. Also with interpersonal, if you're attracted to some people, they are very much likely working on the same frequency as you are.
Okay, is that a question?
No, it's like, you know, how I understand that, how that might work.
Well, that's another concept. I'm not quite sure that it's completely fitting in what we're talking about now, but it will have a place in there somehow.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, Alessandra?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. I have two thoughts. Well, one is that I watched a video from Rupert Sheldrake about a morphogenetic field and how it works. And he explains very well that how individuals download information from the morphogenetic field, something like Claudia was saying, by resonance.
Mhm.
So that's why we download different information, because we download what matches our, what resonate with our frequency of thoughts and belief system and
Yes.
what you said.
Yes.
Yes, and
Yes.
then, well, I don't know if this is a space of wondering about things as well, but it's very interesting, all that topics, and then I had this thought that because you said that we stream the thoughts according of our belief system, and then that is how it shapes how we experience reality and life. And so that is the beautiful thing also about healing, is that as long as we overgrow this belief system that condition us, we are able to stream different qualities of thoughts and have different experience of life. And
Exactly.
yeah, and that is something that really excites me.
Yay! And it is so. That's it.
Yeah.
If you replace a belief system with expectations, then you're very close to how narrow, like how, when our expectations are quite narrow, how the bandwidth of our thoughts we can stream is, and when we drop expectations, all of a sudden we have all this space, and lots of new thoughts can come. So expectations are narrowing our the channel, the radio channel, or however you see that, and narrowing that down, right? So very good. So energies so this is another fact, like a scientific fact, that all energies are vibrating in different frequencies, right? That's just a fact. Like, so every emotion has a different frequency. Every thought has a different frequency. Like everything that is a part of life has a different frequency, right? So just that you know that, and the frequencies are normally measured in hertz, right? If you have never heard it, it's the kind of the standard. What do you say? Standard measurement. Okay. The home of energies is the body. The energies are resonating with physicality. And the home of the body is Earth. So for our concept we are not talking about extraterrestrials, other Earths. We are not interested in that topic, right? We are talking about where we live, it's Earth. This is the only home we know for our physical body. And the rest we are talking is the unseen world. We're not talking about other physical realities that we have never seen. Yeah? Because this brings us in the realm of belief system. Because we have no means to discover it, right? Because our body is bound to Earth, right? By the way, if you think you can travel to Mars in 10 years, Good luck. Finding Mars. Okay. So, emotions. Let's talk about emotions. Emotions are unseen forces. We know that by now. They are created by the mind, either consciously or subconsciously. They are the true source of illness and disease. The emotion created by the mind. The mind is actually the source, right? But the emotion has a stronger impact to create an illness or disease because it is much, yeah, the energy is stronger than thought energy of emotions, right? Emotions can be so severe that they separate from the body. And Eckhart Tolle, who knows Eckhart Tolle? Everyone, wonderful. Oh, he's so great. So he has given that a name, the pain body. And in his book, The Power of Now, he's actually having very compelling evidence that emotions are creating, like can become an own entity that actually can also separate itself from the physical body at one stage. That's what we see actually, what we call a curse. Just because I mentioned it here, by definition, a curse is a man-made emotion that is separating from the originator and becomes an own entity. That's a curse. Emotions have different vibrations on frequencies, and this is very important information for us, so we go through all of this. They can be transferred from lifetime to lifetime or from person to person even. Remember, I'm just picture the last time you've been with somebody in the room and you felt really odd, or you felt an emotion you're normally not feeling, right? You all had that. And if you're very aware, self-aware, probably not in this moment, but you go out and say, why was I feeling sad? Nothing is, nothing's wrong. And then you realize, oh my gosh, I was sitting with this friend having a cuppa, and they are so depressed about whatever, wearing a mask or whatnot. And all of a sudden you feel sad, right? And this is when, the emotion has definitely jumped over to you. The home of the emotion is the astral world or the in-between world. So we will look at both of that in great detail because that's important information for us, because that's what we want to heal. So here's the map of consciousness by Dr. Hawkins, the frequency of emotions. Here you see, and you can buy the book and you can buy the audiobook and download all the charts, all available. Here you see the frequencies of emotions which has been measured. So this is not made up or another, belief system. This is actually science. So every emotion has a frequency and it is there. Now the important information we have is that the vast majority of humanity is vibrating at 175 or lower. The vast majority, over 80% of humanity is vibrating there, right? So if you look at the emotion, we have shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, and pride. That's it. That's how people live. Of course, not us, because we already, we aspiring much more higher living. So we are not there, but the vast majority of people. So that is one important information to take home with. So that also probably gives you, together with the goal to strive for more freedom and happiness for yourself, meaning setting yourself free from setting others free from you. So then when you look at them and they are trapped in these energies, they are trapped in these emotions, then you feel probably more compassion for them as well. and not so judgmental, right? Because there is absolutely nothing they can do to get out there. Until. But for now, there's absolutely nothing they can do. Okay. Do you have a question, Alexander, or do you want to save that for the end of the slide?
No, it's a question.
Yeah.
Because you said that we can pick emotions from others. But what about when we project? Because also it said that we project, or we see the reflection of the emotions that we don't see in ourselves. We see them in others. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So how would you put it in this context?
So this is because you don't know anybody else than yourself. Because you have this tunnel vision of your individuality, and you're only attracting what fits in there. So this is why spiritual teachers say everyone you meet is a mirror. Because they're only reflecting your own perception, right? So the truth is, you don't know your husband. You have no idea who he is, or your child, or your mother, right? You don't know who they are because all you see is your perception of them. You can never know anybody. It's impossible, right? The world is not made like this. But if you pick up somebody's emotion, yeah, that is just when the energy fields are meeting, and for some reason your energy shield is low, is open, let's say it that way, you know. You pick it up and you may make it your own, but when you're consciously aware of it, you can let it go again. It's also called off guard, right? So these are two different topics. But if you talk to the one at the coffee table, whatever they say, whatever they do, and you've been open and interested in everything, what you hear is from your tunnel vision of what you expect to hear. You know? Therefore, you can only hear a fraction of what it's been said. And somebody else who would be in your place listening to the same conversation would say something completely different about it. Because that was this other tunnel vision. And this is also why when you study law, which I did in Germany, then you've been taught when you are inquiring witnesses, you be aware you never get the same witness from different people, ever. Always, your job is to find out what fits the bill, what is neutral, what is, you know, and then make a picture out of it, because they all have their own vision of things. And this is just humanity. That's the human experience. It cannot be different. Yeah. But if we are widening our tunnel, if we are letting that go, if this becomes huge, then we can perceive so much more. There will be still boundaries. There will always be boundaries as a human, but they could be, you know, vast. And being a good facilitator and helper and healer means to have really vast boundaries. So everything can happen. And not only that what you expect, or that what you expect here, or that what you expect here. Okay, back to the chart. So that is first information. This is where humanity is. Just look at that. From 1000 hertz, 175 and low. And that also means that most of them are somewhere around 125, desire, right? Desire is what most people are stuck in as an emotion, as a dominant emotion. They are desiring, and this is also why ancient spiritual wisdom schools are always saying, overcome your desire. Yeah, that is important because you want to go into higher frequencies of emotions. Okay, so that doesn't mean you have this emotion all your life. You have a variety of emotions, but this is what we call the dominant emotion. This always comes back. This always comes up. You know, this is kind of the topic of your life. Okay, then the next thing you see here is that courage is the turning point at 200. Without courage, nobody gets out of their darkness. It takes courage for everyone. So nobody is gifted with a happy life. Whatever, in whatever lifetime, at one stage, you were able to overcome whatever pride, anger, desire, and get courage. Maybe the courage to stand up against the patriarchat, or maybe the courage to leave an abusive relationship, or the courage to be self-employed and not being a slave to somebody. At one stage you have the courage and you are out. You are out of the pattern of negative emotions and low frequency. So courage is a very, very important, if you will, emotion or step to take. And then neutrality is after that. Willingness, acceptance. So there's quite a ladder. Look at the steps in between there. That's, quite a ladder. And reason before you even come to love. And love is only halfway. 500 of 1,000. Would you even know that? We all think, oh, love is all we need, right? Not really. So love, and we're talking about here, actually, we are talking about unconditional love, right? We're not talking about attachment. Conditional love is attachment is all below 200, right? So unconditional love is 500, comes before joy, which I found really interesting when I saw that. And it is so true. Because without unconditionally loving yourself, you can never feel joy because there's always something wrong, right? So that's impressive. And then, of course, towards others as well. So joy vibrates higher than unconditional love. And joy is not equal fun. Fun is vibrating lower than 200. Fun is always attached to desire. Or maybe pride even. But it is not the same as joy. So to have fun is not a good thing. To be joyful is a good thing, if you will. Rossi, do you have a question?
I guess we can move from each emotion and each frequency as we go through life, right? Because there are periods of,
Yeah, ideally, yes. Most people not, but yes, that's what we strive for.
Okay, cool.
So
because you can be like, I guess you can be, let's say, courage or neutrality, and then something happens and then you're grieving, right? Does that take you down to 75?
No, this is not the dominant emotion. This is a temporary emotion. So there's a happening, and we can all feel every emotion, obviously. No, this is temporarily, but there is a dominant emotion which always comes back, which always comes through after a temporary emotion has been, temporary, has been vanished, right? And that is what we're talking about when we are measuring the frequency of the status of one's beingness. But having said that, people who are vibrating dominantly under 200, they cannot experience unconditional love, they cannot experiencing joy, they cannot experiencing peace, only by grace, not consciously. That can only be an act of grace that they don't even understand, that's just happening to them and then it's gone. But they cannot hold it and they cannot make it their dominant emotion. And often you need a whole lifetime to step up on the ladder, right? And often you have many, many lifetimes in one dominant emotion until you step up to the next one. But, you know, it's a concept. Everything is possible. It's just what in general is happening. So peace is also not the end. The end of the ladder. It's not peace. It's better than joy, but enlightenment is the goal. And I think it's really interesting to understand that enlightenment is beyond unconditional love, joy, and peace. Because enlightenment means to let every emotion go. Be free of emotion. And then you think, oh my gosh, that would be a life of a zombie, right? But not when you're enlightened. Because you had them all. You kind of, you had the fullest of all these emotions. You have experienced all of them, you know? It's like your butt. You had enough. You had enough unconditional love. You had enough joy, you know? You just had enough. It's boring. It's just an emotion. After a while, right? So then you become, or you're stepping up on the ladder to enlightenment, where you see that every emotion, regardless of the frequency, is at the end of the day boring, if you will, repetitive. And then all of a sudden, okay, no emotion, no zombie, now you go. So what is next? What is very important is joy is also called the happiness without any reason. Or bliss. Some people say bliss. So joy and bliss is the same here, right? And the hallmark for this is compassion. So unconditional love is a prerequisite for compassion. Compassion for all beings. Ahimsa, non-harming. This is the seed of the spiritual healers and saints, right? Just to tell you, when somebody is spiritually healing, they are in the state of compassion and joy, and they are vibrating on 540. Although their dominant vibration can be maybe even 200. Courage, you know, a beginner. But when the work is done, you can only be on that vibration. And because it really feels so good, we want to do that. Right? Because in this state, we feel ourselves not. We feel only joy and blissfulness. And this is why we want to do it. So it's vice versa, you know. It suits everyone. And what you perceive when you are vibrating on 540 is perfection in creation. Now we come full circle back to the question, why healing? While we are healing, already perceiving that the one we are helping is perfect. Yeah? I just want you to really understand that. And only from this state of perceiving perfection in the client, you can actually help the client to change. Isn't that funny? Yeah. Because as long as you want something for the client, you are vibrating lower. You have a desire. But the good news is grace is always available, and you can let go. You know, you can let go of yourself, if you will, your personality, your ego, whatever, and just be for this session, for this minute, for this 10 minutes, for this 20 minutes, you know, being joyful and a helper, vibrating high. This is also when we talked about lifestyle, I would like you to remind that compassion means for all beings. It's a vital principle of ahimsa, non-harming means non-killing. You cannot come to the stage when you're killing for food. You have to be aware of that. It is not possible. You cannot have both, right? So what else is here? The chakra system. The chakra system is kind of interestingly aligning with the colors of this pyramid that is created by Hawken. And as we kind of know, right, I assume we all know a little bit about chakras. We know that the lower three chakras below the heart chakra are the ones that are like bounding us, you know, to earth. And then going through the heart chakra to the four higher chakras are opening us up to the spirit. And that is the same here. The courage, the green is also the heart chakra, is the turning point. A courageous heart is such a classic, right? In literature, in everywhere. And that's what it is. It's so important to have a courageous heart. So if you're praying for humanity to get out of this misery they put themselves in by digging in a hole they are sitting in, right? For the whole humanity at the moment, pray for a courageous heart and not for unconditional love. They will never reach it. But let a few more people find a courageous heart, and that already changes the world. That would be the right prayer. Okay, so where are we time-wise? Okay, let's go ahead. Who or what is the spirit? That's the next question. Another unforeseen force, of course. Spirit comes from Latin spirare, or breathe, or breath. What? Spirit equals breath. Isn't that interesting? So, and also the breath is unseen, right? We can't see the breath. Another thing, magic. You know, we see everything we see blood, we see saliva, we see everything, but the most important part, the breath, we can't see. It's an unseen force as well. It is this spirit is translated first in the 13th century as animating or vital principle in man and animals. Right? Animating, bringing life to man and animal. So to breathe life into matter is also called the breath of life. As opposed to soul, which we talked about before, from Latin anima, which is also the psychotherapist C.J. Jung, is translated as thoughts, emotions, and personality. So spirit and soul is often mixed up, but it is distinct different, right? The higher self, the consciousness, God, the essential principle, all names for spirit. The source of all things, life force, it's all equal spirit. It's that brings life. It's the principle of life. This is spirit. And the soul needs already existing life, you know, to be created. So spirit comes first. And then comes emotions making the soul, and then comes body, created by the emotions. The home of the spirit is the world of light. So I just recap: the home of the body, the physical body, is earth. The home of the soul or the emotional body is the astral world. And the home of the spirit or the spiritual body is the world of light. And what that is, we talk about that, and I will give you some direction through this world, how to navigate it. Some Google Maps, so to speak. So let's quickly talk about birth and death, because we have all tomorrow and the day after to go into great detail. Just here to tell you, you are composed of 3 parts. For simplicity, of course, you're composed of much more bodies, but we don't need them for what we do. We need the 3 basic parts or principles. Body, thoughts, and emotions is one body, thought and emotion, and spirit. The purpose of birth is to give an opportunity to become more loving and compassionate and master egoistic tendencies and thoughts. Why? To vibrate higher. To create a higher dominant energy, emotion, a higher frequency, to eventually jump into the highest enlightenment, which is our way out. That's the way out. Change can only happen in a physical body through experiencing the new emotion in the body. That is interesting. Without the body, emotions cannot be experienced. Think about it. If you would think yourself without a body, and then the emotions would just float around, but they have no impact. Anger needs a fist. and you know, anger needs a throat to yell. Anger needs another person to be angry at. Joy needs the same, somebody to hug. Grief needs another person to die. You know, so you get the picture. So so we need the physical body to experience emotion. And we have, in order to get up the ladder of emotional frequencies, we have to experience the emotions. This is why we need the body. Now the world, the home of the body is the earth. So the earthly experience is most precious. Most precious. Regardless of the amount of suffering, it is most precious. And we all are longing as a soul, longing for it. Because we want to change, and we cannot change without the physical body. Death is to shed the body and return to the spiritual or emotional home where you came from. That's all there is. That's death. So it's highly exaggerated. But from the perspective of the ego mind, it is everything there is, because the only thing that really dies is the body and the ego that's attached to it, right? Which is not lasting very long, and is a vehicle for an experience that you store in your soul, which is now the one that really counts. Let's talk about the spiritual world before we go in the break. Earth, we know, home of the body, is the world of experiences, right? The physical world of experience. We have senses, whom we are experiencing. That's all there is. That's Earth. The astral world is the world of emotions. That's the home of the souls. That's where the souls dwelling until they get a chance to get another body, to come to Earth and experience their own beingness, their own emotion again. Then we have the in-between world, which is of particular interest for us as a healer, because there's a lot to be healed. That is the world of attachment and addictions. Because attachment and addictions are emotions. So they are unseen, right? They can detach from the physical body. And then we have the world of light. That is where the innocent live, not normal people, because normal people have a dominant emotion, and guess where they are? In the astral world, right? With their fellow emotional people. But those who have no dominant emotion, they go to the light. And these are children, these are advanced beings and animals. So in some, like, you know, I call it, I don't know what the right term is, this new agey healing realms, right? You send everybody to the light. That's healing. You send them to the light. Yeah, you can send them to the light, but they can't go there. So you just think you send somebody to the light, but it's impossible, you know? So they just hide. There's nothing has been done. Nothing has been healed. It's just sent to the light, doesn't mean anything, right? We will talk about all of this when we actually do the healing process. We do heal with light, but we do not send people with an emotion to the light. However, we can send children, advanced beings, they don't need our help anyhow, but children and animals we can send to the light straight. So, Earth. Earth is a world of experience and perception. So we are here with the body to experience pain and sensation and everything else. But on Earth, or not but, on Earth, changes are very slow by purpose. Because you need time, time is bound to physicality, you need time to experience and understand the impact of an emotion. So imagine every random thought you have is creating an emotion instantaneously in the body. You know, how would you even be able to live, right? With all these random thoughts coming. This is important. So that's a clever system, that the impact, you know, you need time to feel the impact. This is why everything is very slow on Earth, by design. Reality is only perception. We talked about that. Your reality is your own thing. Nobody else has the same reality. Don't expect anybody saying, get real. What does that mean? You know, they are in their own reality. They are very real. So each person has a unique perception. We talked about that. And the goal on Earth is to gain experience, to evolve rising emotions. Experience emotions and let them go to hopefully make a step into the next one. The astral plane or the astral world is the world of emotions. Emotion, there's this beautiful expression from Malcolm Southwood. He said, the emotion you have become. Because you become an emotion if it's your dominant emotion when you leave the physical body. So when you live in fear, the physical body, that's the emotion you become. Not because it's a temporary fear, because there was an accident, but you lived in fear all your life. It could be open or it could be covered up, right? The dominant emotion is not how others perceive you. That is you in you. Because on the physical world, you can conceal everything. That's the other difference to all other worlds. You know, you can lie. You can tell something that is not. You can say something and think something else. You can say something and feel something else. It's all possible, but only because you have the physical body. If you wouldn't have the physical body, your thoughts and emotions are clearly seen. Nowhere to hide, right? So you become an emotion. When you leave the body, you become an emotion, and that's where you go in the astral world. Yeah? And most likely is the way you die an expression of the emotion you have become in your lifetime. So when you die in fear, because of the circumstance you die in, your dominant emotion was most likely fear. You know, and this is the event you create for yourself, to experience it until the last breath. Because that's your human experience, right? And when you, let's say your whole life was desire, you were desiring everything, then you would probably desire in the moment that you die, you would desire to, I don't know, go to angel gate number 7. Right? That would be a desire. You want, that's where I want to go, you know? because there's all the candy in the afterworld. Hmm? And that's how you do. That's your dominant emotion, and you will end up there, obviously, right? So if you think about that concept, that makes a lot of sense. Every emotion has a matching color, and that's very interesting for us because we work with them. And we will go through all this. Beings are in the astral plane together with similar emotional bodies, right? So every plane has a color. The color has an emotion. That's a dominant emotion, and whoever has this dominant has become this emotion. That's their home. That's what they call home. Now, what we call the karmic circle is nothing else than you are with your bodies in this cloud 7. Let's say it's whatever. Let's say any color. It's orange, the color of deception, with all these bodies who had deceived themselves and others all their lives as well. And you're dwelling there and you realize that's not what I want to be. You can't change it, you know. You can't experience emotions without a physical body. So you want to go back. You want to have a physical body to experience another emotion. Preferable one that vibrates higher. No? And then now in some belief systems, karmic circle is like things like you're punished for something. We're not talking about that. We're talking about karma like action. It's just, you know, what you have done, the emotion you have become, you go through there, then you decide, I don't want that anymore. I want another sort of action to become another emotion. And that's what the true karmic cycle is, not the religious stuff with being punished for what you did before. Right? There is, the astral world has a lot of layers, and Malcolm Southwood was a master, and he was traveling astral planes all his life, and he brought so many insights back. It was really, really amazing to study with him. But obviously this is not about what he does. This is about family constellation and systemic coaching. But as much as we understand, that's for us, as much as we understand how we are composed, you know, as much we can work with ourselves, we can create the environment to come deliberately into this frequency of 540 to here. So he said, now there's lots of levels of astral worlds. There is also a high astral world, which is still a color, but this is where you are taught love. You know, you cannot experience it. You have to have but you're taught about it, because this is the other thing is you can only experience what you expect, right? You know, it's tunnel vision. So if you don't know what love is, if you don't know what unconditional love is, you will never be able to look for it. Right? So somewhere when you come in this lifetime with the desire to evolve, you must have it from somewhere. Somebody must have told you about it. And that is in the astral world. Right? That is where you learn about it. That is where you decide, okay, I want to experience that. Then there's the mid-astral work. This is just working on karma, meaning, okay, you know, this and this actions lead to this and this dominant emotion, and I want to understand it, and I might want to change, I might want to step up a ladder, you know, from grief to fear, or from fear to pride, or whatnot, right? And then this is where you work on mid-astral. And then there is a low astral world, which some say hell, like, you know, religion. We call it the low astral world, which is the dark world of selfishness. So people, and selfishness is the color black in the spiritual color chart, and people who have only experienced selfishness as their dominant emotion, they will end up in the low astral world, right? And there's not much they can do. There's not much teaching going on. There's just you know, waiting for the chance to come back with the same emotional body and experiencing, hopefully, by chance, by grace, by whatever, something else. So it's really difficult to get out of there. So the goal is in the astral world to learn about the choices you made on Earth and to make better choices in the next life. As simple as that. It's always choice. It's always your choice. And since you want, as an individual, experience all emotions, there is absolutely nothing bad of vibrating low, right? Because everyone wants to experience that. So you can't skip it, and there's actually no need, no use in skipping anything. So here are the spiritual colors. You have them on the video recording. You can take a screenshot now if you're curious. Take a screenshot now and print it out. This is something you really need to learn because you can work with these colors. They give you hints in the work with family constellation or with regressions. I'll use it a lot in regressions, right? If people see colors, or with figurines, which color clients choose for which representative. This all gives you a hint. So we are not going through it all now because, you know, it explains itself. I just want you to print it out and learn it. And have it wherever you learn, wherever you work, put it on your fridge, just, you know, because it's not so easy. I just recently have mistaken orange and brown for a brief moment. I was a bit confused. So this happens all the time. But as more you learn visually, as better. And we will go through it then how to work with it. Okay, we have our break. 10 minutes. I put the time on. I think that was good. So let's see if I find the timer. And I see you back in 10. Pause recording. This is the world, this is where we work quite a lot with. So let's crack into that. Here we go. So the in-between world is the word of the so-called undead. It's a strange term. It has nothing to do with zombies, but bear with me. You'll see. It is a world of attached spirits or possessive energies and also of curses. Remember, curse is an entity that became from an emotion that has been created. There's also the realm of souls in deep sleep, mainly in shock. It is also the world where people go in nighttime sleeps often. They not always travel to the astral world. They often not making it much further than in the in-between world, especially when they have nightmares. Attachment and addictions keep you there, right? The spirits who are trapped in the in-between worlds there because of either attachments or addictions, right? That's as easy as that. You don't need to look any further. When you work, you will work for an attachment or an addiction. Spirits or possessive energies want to live on. They do not want to be dead. They are so attached to the physical world, to their own physical body, that they do not want to leave it. And because of that, they stay close to where they are attached. And that is called the in-between world. The in-between world is so close to the physical world that some people can actually see other, souls in between. This is what we call psychics. They cannot look further than that. I guarantee you that. If they say they do, they make it up. They cannot, you can astral travel, but you cannot see into the astral world from here. It's too far away. But you can see in the in-between world if you are gifted or you're practicing it, because it's very close to us. The souls trapped in the in-between world, they never get rest other than they are in deep sleep while they are in shock. That's another thing. And they don't understand. They understand nothing. They don't understand that they are dead. They don't understand that they are in the wrong body. They don't understand. They have no awareness of their situation, right? because they are either addicted or attached, and that takes over completely their whole perception, their tunnel vision. And in a family constellation, you see that when people who are representing a dead family member have their eyes open and are confused about who they are, then you know they are trapped in the in-between world. They do not know that they are dead. And the healing, the word of power here is to say, you are dead. Do you know that you are dead? You are dead. That's often all that is needed. So that's to the in-between world. We will work with it when we work with the attached spirits and attached emotions, right? That's just the information so far. Then we talk about the plane of light. That is where the innocent live. Innocent children and animals. Those who have not become an emotion. That's the difference, right? Either because they don't feel emotions like we do, like animals, or they are innocent children who, haven't become an emotion yet. They have their backpack from the other life, but not in this life. They haven't added anything to it, right? That's it. Advanced beings, the same, but they are normally not our concern. We are not meeting them when we work, right? They have no reason to be with us because we do our work and that's it. They can support. If you want to get support for your work, you ask your spiritual teachers or your guides or something to support you and be with you. That's fine, but you're not working with them. Yeah. Animals. I have now, meanwhile, worked with several, all dogs actually, animals in family constellations. Really enlightening, really, really interesting. In the plane of light, incarnation is optional. So other than in the astral world where incarnation is a given, that's why you are there. In the plane of light, you don't need to. You can decide to come to Earth or not. And most don't, because there is no reason for them. Because you are, in the state of enlightenment, meaning emotions don't mean anything to you anymore. So who comes back from the world of light? Oh, maybe it's advanced beings, teachers. Teachers to teach something, to guide people out of their suffering. Buddha, Jesus, who knows? Re-entering is from the plane of light without an emotional body. So they don't have a backpack because there's nothing in there. Right? And the goal is, when you are in the plane of light, to create a new realm of existence. So again, creativity is the goal in every realm, right? That's only about creativity, but what you create is different. So when you are in the plane of light, you are literally creating a new realm of existence, which is hard to picture. And this is a concept, right? Don't try hard to understand it. It's nothing for the mind in there. It's just an information that might come in handy one day when you work. So the healer. Teach me how to love so I can heal. That's a quote from Malcolm Southern. It's also a book he wrote. And it is very profound. Now that you know the hallmark of love is below joy, it's 500, something like that, right? The frequency of love. It is not even so difficult to achieve, right? Once you are overcome the lower chakra bound emotions, that is actually achievable in our world. That is actually achievable probably in this lifetime. Probably otherwise you wouldn't be here on the course. So this is achievable. How do we learn to love? That's the big question. And that's what it's all about, including the training and every other life experience that you have created for yourself. To make choices. Always choose love over one of the other emotions. That's it. And as more often you choose love over the other emotions, that doesn't mean that you all of a sudden are a monk living from alms and giving everything. That's not what it's love is giving other freedom. You're still functioning in the world. You still have to pay your bills. You still have your debts. You still deal with bankers. That's not changing. But you can choose to not judge somebody else. For they still owe you things, and you still, need them to pay their debts or whatnot. But you are not judging them. You're not angry. You're not. There is no emotion with it. You can still acknowledging this person for what they are, which is unconditional love, and go about your business. Without giving everything away you possess and living on the streets and living from alms. That's not actually the definition of love. Yeah. So, how to heal with the spirit and family constellation? Now we're coming to this question. How do we actually do that? First of all, spiritual healing is not healing a spirit, right? There is nothing to heal. The spirit of the whole beingness of somebody individual is perfect. Yeah, nothing to heal there. The spirit we are talking about is an attached spirit, is actually a soul, because it's an emotion, but we call it spirit because it's so common. Now it's probably a little bit deceiving, but it's more like a soul, an attached soul. Right? But with the soul always comes a spirit, so now we call it an attached spirit. So spiritual healing is not that. We are not healing a spirit, we are healing with the spirit. That means stay clear of thoughts and belief systems, expectations, and emotions. To be able to tap into your spirituality, into the realm of spirituality, you stay clear of those for the moment, not for the rest of your life. That would be enlightenment. For the moment you work. That's it. For the moment you work. And you all know how that is, because when you are representing the family constellation, that's exactly what you do. Or if you know it or not, this is what happens. And the moment you're representing a family member, you're feeling this emotion or this word or this movement or this eye contact with somebody, you stay clear of your own thoughts and belief systems, of your own expectations, of your own emotions. And this is why we love this work so much, because it taps us into the energy of love. You heal with the spirit if you feel compassion for all beings in all worlds. That is an important information. Because when we are working with possessive energies or attached spirits in the in-between world, we are maybe tempted to find them bad or black or dark, or we can only heal if we have compassion also for the attached spirits. And you will see when I demonstrate how that looks like, right? Only love can heal, and only if you want to free a person from an attached spirit, you have to love the spirit. And there's good reasons why you love, even if they do really evil things, if you think so. There's good reasons to feel compassionate and unconditional love also to the spirit. So, foundations of spiritual healing. Always see the perfection in yourself and others when you heal. That's really, really, really the foundation. That's your concrete block. That's where you stand on, right? So there is no room for you to doubt that you can do anything. Nor is there room to think that a client to you comes is not in the right place. This is perfect as it is, right? On that level, wherever you meet. So each soul is on its own individual journey, like you are, and everybody else, and perfectly guided by its spirit for whatever happens to this individual, right? And now that we know, we can have the wish to help and heal and perceive perfection at the same time. That is possible. And that's what we want to do. To heal yourself and others, you need to see the perfection of creation, not the emotional imperfection of the body or the soul. I don't know whether that's still available. I saw on YouTube this lovely short footage of 3 Indian monks who were in the hospital with a patient, a female patient who had cancer. And you could see on the ultrasound, I think it was, you know, all the cancerous cells. I don't know what it was, an organ or breast cancer, I'm not sure. And they were just standing there and they were just chanting love, you know. They were just chanting love. They looked very average, actually. They didn't look specifically enlightened. 3 guys standing there chanting or you know, or feeling unconditional love. And you could see on this ultrasound picture how the cancer or whatever was wrong there dissolved. It was so lovely. I haven't seen it again, but I saw it with my own eyes. I hope it wasn't photoshopped. But anyhow, even if it would be photoshopped, that is the concept of love healing. You see the organ, whatever they were focusing on, as perfect and whole and functioning. And because their vibration was so high, you know, there was no way that this low vibration of this person, organ, or whatever can fight that. So it had to heal. And I thought that was the most beautiful depicting of the saying, only love can heal. And if you do that to yourself, if you have this compassion and this unconditional love to yourself, right, you heal yourself. I repeat, that is both finding perfection in whatever kind of imperfection you're experiencing and having the desire to change it. The healing takes place when the soul child gains back self-respect and self-love, which is equaling to let go of guilt. So when we do spiritual healing, we are talking to the soul child of the client, right? Because this is what needs healing, right? And you need to take, so first of all, you need to take guilt away. And secondly, time. You have to bring wherever you go to, where the problem was originated, and take it into the now. And then healing is possible, right? So this is why, and you will remember that when we go through the steps by regression, we always talk in the present when we are going with somebody in a regression, never in the past. Because through guiding into the present, we take the time away. And sometimes you will find that clients who are very much in their mind and very much wanted to control the situation, you know, they always say, oh yeah, I remember I was there and I used to live in this room, and you know, they are not ready. They don't let go. They don't let you guide them out of time. You ask them, where are you? Not where have you been, right? You ask them, where are you? And they said, I was in my childhood, whatever, nursery. I think I see me when I was, and you're saying, how do you feel? And say, I felt really, really bad. And you realize, that there is no healing possible at this moment, because the client is clinging to time. You know, that's possible. I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but it does, you know. And this gives you, you just don't fight it. It's just what it is, you know. You guide into the present, and it's not, you know, working because they just don't want to give up time. So next time, maybe next round, it might happen then. So healing takes place on a higher level than where the problem has been created. Another principle of spiritual healing. Yeah, you cannot solve a problem with the same means that have created the problem. That means if you have a physical problem, it's kind of disease or illness, you heal it when you heal the emotion that has caused it. That's the next level. If you have an emotional problem, which is what we work with, we heal it with the next level, with this spirit. And this is why the latest work of Bert Hellinger, he has called going with the spirit. Because that is actually what's happening in a family constellation to heal an emotional trauma in the family system. So illness, physical body, Brahma is earth. You cannot heal. That's what physicians try to do. They try to heal a physical ailment with physical medication or treatment or whatever. It can, of course, lower the symptoms, no doubt, but it's not healed, right? It's still there. It's not gone, right? It's just there. But it's more pleasurable to have it, let's say it that way, right? Even if you go as far as cancer, like with modern medicine, you can fight cancer as a symptom, but it mostly comes back because it's not gone, just by radiation or just by medication, it's not gone. There's still the soul cause, right? It's still there. A trauma is, the way we use trauma, is an emotional trauma, right? It is when an impact on a physical body was that created fear, and the emotion of guilt is present. This is why we are talking about childhood traumas, because normally this emotion of guilt is typical for a child, who cannot distinguish between itself and the other. Right? That is where this feeling of guilt comes from. And this is the emotion. This is an emotional situation, illness, if you will, which is home is the astral world, and this can only be healed one level higher, which is the spiritual world, the world of light. So this is why I say you can heal with light, but you cannot send people to the light, right? That's a different thing. The problem with empaths, intuitives, and psychics. So let me just quickly say what's the problem with them. First of all, when somebody is an empath, they have no concept like we now have for the context they find themselves and the client or customer in, right? They can only empathize with what the other is feeling. That means they are on the same level with them. Where healing cannot take place. They are both on an emotional level, right? Do you understand what I mean? So maybe the client or customer feels good about it because somebody else is feeling what they feel. That's possible. They felt understood, but it's not healed, right? So empathy cannot heal. It's the same level, right? No healing. Intuitives, they overstepping the line of governance, right? Because if you want to be healed, you go to somebody to help you. You choose. When you meet with somebody and he says all of a sudden, oh, I feel you have a dark childhood, right? Intuitively, then you're like, okay, but whoa, I'm not ready. I'm not at the stage where I actually want to heal it, right? Unconsciously. Hmm? So it's overstepping a line here if somebody, and I actually have experience with that quite a lot, both empaths and intuitives. And it is quite stressful, because there's also this manipulation going on, especially if they do it for money. There's a lot of money, and I always see a big ego shining through people who are working like this because they don't spend money on education. They don't think they need to learn anything because they are naturally gifted with empathy or intuitive. Same with psychics. And they think they are better by nature than others. They don't understand that there's a lot to learn and a lot to know if you really want to progress in your own journey, to be able to love, to be able to heal. Because people who are like this, we're talking about, are not Jesus or Buddha. They are not the advanced being that come from the light without emotions. They have strong emotions and desires, right? So that's actually another realm. That's not really the realm of healing, like what we think what healing is. It's going to the source of the problem and take, like the psychics, for example, they talk to the in-between world, right? So somebody recently died, so they have a client who is suffering from the loss, right? And of course, I don't say that there's not a valuable market for them, because people who have lost their loved ones, they want to communicate with them, and that's fine. I'm just saying it's not healing, right? That's all I say. I'm not saying they are bad persons or you don't need them or they are fish. No, they are not healing. They call themselves healer because they don't know what heals. They haven't healed themselves. They have, there is nothing going on that qualifies for healing, but they are naturally gifted with something that they can offer to emotionally soothe others, right? Which is great, but I wouldn't call it healing. It feels good and it's great for people who are looking that. I mean, some people probably, think they get healing and then they don't. And then later they understand that and then they think, okay, spiritual healing is rubbish because they have never really had a spiritual healing, because they only went to intuitives, empaths, or psychics. So that's their experience. That we can't help it. But when we are talking about spiritual healing, we are not talking about that. We're talking about going on the level with the knowledge and the tools we have to apply that what really heals. Yeah. Hang on, I have a light situation here. Hang on, I do that. Okay. I think that's too bright. Here we go. So next one, spiritual healing. So question is now, when do we use spiritual healing in a family constellation? Now we have our family constellation. We know all about family constellation and how that looks like. But then we can have a client where we find out that we are dealing with not with an entanglement in a family system, but we are actually dealing with an attached spirit. Sometimes this does look like an entanglement. And this is why it is so valuable that you know how to deal with it. And you can see what is an attached spirit, a possessive energy, or a childhood trauma. And you can also deal with it with the modality of family constellation. Just to be clear, you're not dealing with an entanglement. You're not dealing with one of Bert Hellinger's dynamics. You're not dealing with module 1 stuff. You're dealing with module 4 stuff. But you use either the one-on-one or the workshop situation with representatives to heal, to help them heal. So emotional healing is the same. That is something that you can apply in a session with a client or in a workshop if it comes up. And emotional illness, we talk about that briefly, how you can deal with that. That is an illness which is caused in an emotion, right? That's what I mean with emotional illness, not a actual ill emotion. So we use spiritual healing in the family constellation to release a trauma. Either one's own childhood trauma, which we look in part 2 at in detail, or a trauma in a family system, which we did already in module 1 to 3. Yeah, that's all we do. Trauma is a family system, family constellation. Trauma in childhood is normally a regression, but you can also use family constellation for it. We are using spiritual healing in a family constellation to free souls. Every time, I just said to you, if you have a representative who doesn't know he's dead, and you tell him he's dead, you are freeing the soul from the in-between world. And the soul can go to the astral world. It's kind of a side effect. That happens in Bert Hellinger constellations a lot, especially in this World War scenarios that we had in Germany all the time when we looked at family systems from the first 2 world wars. And every time, and he never knew it, and he never named it, but he was releasing or freeing souls. You know, when representatives are moved on from an undead situation to the actual, you know, dead situation. We use spiritual healing in the family constellation to separate attached spirits. It's kind of like an entanglement as well. It's just not a family system entanglement, because the attached spirits don't need to be family members. No, it can become from somewhere else, or to remove possessive energies, which is actually to release an attached emotion, not a spirit, just a single emotion. Emotional healing is important to raise the frequency so you can come in the frequency of love. That's where you can heal. You can be also addicted to emotions. Be aware of that. Then you end up, or your client ends up, when they die, in the in-between world, because that's the world of addictions, right? You know, like if somebody loves soap operas and sitcoms and can't wait till it comes up and is completely, you know, living it as if it would be their own life. That's like an addiction to this emotion, right? To this emotional body they create there, right? And they can get stuck in that. It's really a problem, I would say. Or maybe the kids, who knows, the kids who are addicted to their games, online gaming, who knows? You know, what we will see in 40, 50 years, because this is new. This is only since 20 years going on, right? So we do not have any real experience with that, how that looks in a situation when they pass on. Emotional healing is to detach from things, peoples, or groups as well. Emotional healing is not positive thinking. I know there's a lot of going on with positive thinking and how that is miracle working wonders and everything else. I just want to tell you, if you really think it through, experience it for yourself. Positive thinking is by definition, or needs by definition, a negative thought underneath. Because otherwise you wouldn't need to rephrase it into something positive. So there is the existence of a negative thought is prerequisite to positive thinking. And you know, the existing of negative thoughts is what holds you in the frequency of it, right? Not the rephrasing. It's doing nothing. However, if you have positive thoughts, there is no negative thought underlying. You don't need to rephrase anything. Now you have raised the energy, right? So positive thinking does nothing but creating an environment where you have positive thoughts because you're freeing yourself and others from the confinement of your own judgments. That's, here we go. All of a sudden, positive thoughts, higher frequency, emotional healing takes place. Oh, I could actually go on and on about, Abraham Higgins and Abraham and the whole law of attraction thing, and that all works, but it's not healing, right? It's just not healing. It works, it works, it works. It gives you what you want, but you still desire. So you are still in frequency, what was 175 or something like that. Yeah. There's nothing higher in the law of attraction. And you're laughing, Rosie, so tell me why.
And I'm quite interested on that because I have a lot of friends that they do that, they're positive thinking and all that stuff. And I think, and I agree with what you're saying. Can you actually become addicted to that as well?
Totally. Yeah.
So would that
Totally.
actually, yeah, okay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It can make a complete belief system, and it can become your life, and you fight for it, and yeah, and you want to convince others, and you can be millionaire. Of course you can attract money. That's not the problem. Money is nothing what you keep. Why would you work again on things that are perishing? You want to work on your desire and your emotions. And not on money and wealth and partners and all of this. This is all going away quickly, quick. They can go away as quick they come. I'm talking about money and partners, right? So, it's fun. And if you think, oh, I do that, that's fun. It's like playing lottery and, oh, now I have $1 million, fine. But that's fine. But if you really think you are healing yourself and others and the world with this concept of positive thinking or law of attraction, that's not true. The vibrations is always staying low, never going up. So overcoming thought patterns and emotions is paramount for spiritual growth. So also what Eckhart Tolle and everybody else who is a really serious spiritual teacher in the know is saying is, this is our goal. We have to overcome our own thought pattern who are creating this emotion. And how do we do that? Eckhart Tolle says you have to be aware of them, first of all, because they are mostly working in the unseen, in the background, and you never really understand your thoughts. Why, and then how you get rid of it, he says, like you get rid of a hot potato. You have a hot potato in your hand. What do? You let it go. You open your hand. But before you do that, you have to have it in your hand, meaning you really need to feel the heat of the hot potato. You need to really feel the heat of your thoughts. And then you just open your hand and said, okay, I decide, the butt thing, no more. Boring, annoying. I want something else. So emotional illness is not, it's the emotion, it's an illness that is clearly caused by emotions, are all phobias, right? A phobia is an irrational fear about something that should cause no fear. Like if there are phobias about everything. There's a phobia against gumboots, not only spiders. You can have a phobia against gumboots or against a specific car color, or you never go in a car that is orange, whatever, in a particular orange tone, because it gives you fear, an irrational fear. That's a phobia. This is caused by a trauma, an emotional trauma. Alzheimer's condition is also caused by an emotion. Chronic fatigue syndrome caused by an emotion. MS, it's all emotional. Kidney disorders, very specifically. Parkinson's disease and rheumatoid arthritis is also caused by an emotion. Infertility is caused by emotion. you can read this all in Malcolm Southwood book. I think it's You and Your Mobile Home. This is the online edition of his latest book. He has 2 online editions on Amazon, a Kindle, and he goes into the emotion behind all these illnesses and where this comes from. So just telling you, if somebody says to you, "Oh, I have this phobia," or "I have this, my grandmother's Parkinson," or so, it's an emotion, it's a trauma. You know, you can do a family constellation about it. Yes, Rocio.
Have you seen Louise Hayes as well? Has a really nice book that explains all of the emotions behind the disease as well.
Oh, that sounds
know if you
interesting. Would you put that
Yeah,
in the
it's like
group chat, probably on
yeah,
the training community? That would be great.
yeah.
link
I'll
or
try to
something.
find it in English.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's
No, I haven't heard, but it's interesting. Yeah, fantastic. Claudia,
I got that one in English.
what's the title? Do you know?
The Louis A. Hay one, I've got it in English.
Okay, maybe you can put that on the community chat.
And there's another one, Barometer of the Soul, as well, that gives a list too. That's really comprehensive. It's
So
good.
maybe we can
Yeah.
create a new thread in the general discussion, a new thread topic about emotional illnesses or the emotion of an illness, and you can link whatever you have read about it. That would be fantastic. Okay, now let's talk about attached spirits. Despite the fact that it's not the spirit who's attached, it's the emotional body. It's from the in-between world, who is dwelling in the in-between world, trapped there, because they are either addicted or attached to a physical pleasure, to person. A lot of like elderly couples who are like grow into one, who can't live one without it. If one is passing away, they often don't make it to the astral world. They are so attached to their partner, they stay. And this is why they can actually, with the help of psychics or intuitives, communicate, right? It doesn't help them. They cannot go, you know, they never make it. But you know, it helps them to emotionally to live their emotion of attachment. They can even communicate when one has passed on. So that's where the entities live, and they don't want to go, and they attach themselves not necessarily to their partner, but to somebody else. Right? And was not Claudia, you in the, yeah, it was in the, I loved it when you said that you were actually sleeping. What did you say? Do you want to talk about your case in this group? Because not everybody was in the workshop. Like Julie and Mana specifically were not there.
Yeah, so it's like as it came out in the family constellation that my father actually attached himself to me because he could not let go of my grandmother, but he also knew that I loved him so much and I missed him as well. And so he attached himself to me. And it was really interesting after we have released him. And the thing is, I wanted to go to the toilet before my constellation, and Maya's toilet was like really a steep hill, and it was like after a third it was like no, I go back later to the toilet when I've got more time. And then we had the my constellation, and after that I actually said I went to the toilet, and I could actually go up 3/4 of a way before I actually started puffing. And it's like, wow. And I have to say, Maya, because I am psychic, but I'm not a psychic. There's a difference too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the thing is, it's like, I always wondered all my life since my grandfather died, I never could see him in the spirit world, right? I can see spirit and I can hear them and I can feel them, and never my grandfather. It was really interesting because I was very attached to him. Now I understand why not. But you know what? Now I actually can see him and my grandmother standing next to each other in the spirit world.
Wonderful. That was wonderful.
It was, yeah.
So when we released the Touch Spirit, which was Claudia's grandfather, you said something. I remember that in the back of my head, that after your grandfather died, that your grandmother wanted you to sleep in her bed where
Yeah.
her
Yeah, I was
partner.
living with my grandmother. She was really distraught. And so I lived with her. And because my father was living at her house as well, and there was only 2 bedrooms. So my grandmother actually slept on my grandfather's side of the bed, and I actually then slept on her side of the bed. So that's actually, yeah, that was actually going on for, I don't know, 2 years or something, or 3 years. Yeah.
And that's what attached spirits are doing. They are not always, so first of all, they are not talking. They have no mouth, right? They are not talking. That's not like in horror movies or something that they, but they actually made, Claudia, you were jumping out of the window
Yeah.
to kill yourself because you couldn't stand anymore to live unconsciously with this foreign energy steering your life. And they also, and he also made you sleep in the bed. You know, you think, oh, they are rational ideas. There's always another option, but the grandfather made her sleep together with his wife again, like in her body. So this is how attached spirits work. And they often are in families, not necessarily always. I had another case of a young boy who caught an attached spirit in a public mall while they were traveling, and he had a head injury. So, but we talk about that. I think it's, I'm not sure when, maybe today, maybe later. So there are lots of other. So this is yeah, this is how it was. So you have we had a family constellation situation here. So we actually had a representative for the attached spirit, and so this is why it's so beautifully merging this healing modalities, family constellation and spiritual healing into one when you have the chance to work with representatives. So that worked very well. Great. Yeah, I love that when you said you can run up the hill, because, you know, before that, Claudia had the energy of an old man.
Yes, I did.
You know,
And my
obviously.
grandfather had a lung problem. So he was actually working in the mines, coal mines when he was young. So actually he also had lung cancer. So now that actually makes all sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so so the attached spirit need a weak host and a close contact, right? So a weak host is always a child, and a close contact is also always a child. So it's very common that family members who are attached to their family choose a child to live on, right? To live on there. That's common. So that's often the way, and it's good to look there if you have a case like this. To reattach the spirit, you need love for all beings again, so also for the spirit. It's not bad, it's not evil. He is lost. It's a lost soul who needs your help and actually wants your help, because otherwise the whole situation wouldn't come up. So you have to trust that. Even though if you see in a healing session, they are really sometimes very hard for them to detach, very hard. They still, on one level, they want to be free, you know, and this is what you work with this level, on this level. Again, of course, you can't send them in the light. No, they have strong attachments. So guess what? They are very low vibrating in their energy. They have become. So they have a color, and you send them into the color. And this is where you need the chart, because you need to know which color to send them off to be able, so they are really, really, really gone. They need to be really, really gone and not hide, because they like to hide. They're good at that. Yeah, Claudia.
Just wondered, did you actually send my grandfather into a color?
No, because we had a representative for his home.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you have people, you don't need a color. But if you're working with a client one-on-one, you need a color to send them somewhere.
All right. Thank you.
You have to, yeah. So you need to find the emotion or the color they have become to be able. Sometimes you see it. You see the color. Your client, actually, you don't see it, but your client says, "Oh yes, I can see actually orange." And then you say, "Okay, orange. That's the color of the spirits. You send him into orange." but we will go through the releasing process in when we do regression. Yeah. Okay. Now we do an exercise. We have 25 minutes or so, and that's going to be fun. So that's your first probably your first healing session where you are doing a basic spiritual healing. And in this basic spiritual healing session, and please take it lighthearted, it's practice. Yeah, it's practicing. It's your first go. You work in groups of two, so one group 2, one group 3. You find one is the client, one is the helper. You find for the other the emotion that is dominant, right? And you may make a little meditation. I demonstrate that briefly. And then, oh, hang on, I demonstrate that with one of you, and then the 2 others go in pairs. That's how we do it. Okay. And then when this emotion came up, it will come up quickly. We're talking about seconds here, right? Not long meditations, seconds. This emotion comes up, then you find the color. You got your screenshot. You got your color chart. So you find the color that is addressing this emotion, and then you send this emotion, not your client, you send this emotion into the color, right? This is how you release this emotion from your body with whom you are working, who is your client, and then you swap, right? Okay, so I make so who wants to work with me, who has then a break once, I just need one. Okay, Rocio, here we go. So I just also need my chart because I always have it here. Okay, so Rocio, please relax. Sit upright, relax, wiggle your shoulders a little bit. Make sure that your feet are grounded. Take a couple of deep breaths. And then I want you to remember the last time you had a really strong emotional reaction. And tell me when it was and what happened.
14 years old.
Mhm.
I had a strong emotion of not being enough,
Yeah.
and I injured my right shoulder really badly.
The emotion of not being enough. Now we look in our chart. We need more information because it doesn't come up. It could be fear. Anger. Here we go.
Anger.
Anger.
Yeah.
All right. So anger, if you look at your chart, is color red. Yeah. So now, Rocio, I would like you to picture a red object. What is this object? Or geometry or something. Whatever comes first.
A triangle.
Okay. What consistency has a triangle? Is it liquid or firm or cloudy?
Very dense.
Dense.
Very dense.
Is it dense liquidy or dense firm?
Like wood.
Like wood. Here we go. Very good. What is the size of this red triangle? Or that size?
Like the size of my chest. Yeah.
Okay,
like,
very good. Now I would like you to see this triangle if in front of you, probably 10 meters away from you. And now you take the anger, the 14-year girl-old anger about this, whatever has been happened to it that made it feel not good enough. And shoot or breathe it, whatever you prefer, with your hands or with your breath into this red triangle. could be either a forceful push or a slow movement.
Mm.
And you watch it, how it goes closer to this red triangle, this red wooden triangle. And you let me know when it is there.
Sorry, still going.
That's okay. Take your time, as long as it's moving.
Yes, yeah.
It's there? Okay.
Mm.
Now I want you to watch how it is melting with this triangle, so it becomes one. So you cannot distinguish between your emotion and the object.
Mm. It's huge. It grew.
It grew, yeah, that happens a lot. Mhm.
Mm.
Is it there? I mean, is it
Mhm.
melted? And now you see how this object which is left, this red object, is shooting away like a rocket into the distance until you can't see it anymore.
Mm. Yeah, it's gone.
Fantastic. Now I would like you to fill the gap that is left in your body
Mm.
from releasing this anger energy, to fill it with your own light that shines from your heart, bright white light. Are you still with us, Rocio? I can't see your video.
Oh, sorry, my battery. It's yeah.
Mm.
Oh yeah. I actually feel my arm.
Mhm.
It's very, yeah,
Very
soft.
good. Very good.
Mm.
And we leave it here. We don't want to take too much time. So, right. This is how you release an energy. So you help your partner to release one of these energies, right? Whatever comes
Mm.
up. You have each 5 minutes to do so. So 10 minutes in total. I will put the timer on so you know when it's time to swap. And Rosie, you have 10 minutes break.
Yay!
And yay! And let me just turn off the sharing and put on the breakout rooms. So Rosie was just asking what the what the basic is behind this healing, and it is to find the emotion, find the corresponding color, find an object which is the home of the color, the astral world, send it there away from the body, make the client watch it going, make the client be completely gone, because otherwise it can hide, yeah, completely gone, and then fill the gap out with your own light. That's important. So you know the source of the light, not some random light, because it's all, there's a lot of deception going on in the spiritual realms, as much as on earth. So always be sure you know where the source of things coming from. So that's like basically what you do in this simple exercise, which is more or less every kind of detaching spirits or possessive energies. Just much some processes take much more energy and longer than just the emotion. So feedback, how was this for you? Who wants to share from the perspective, whatever, who wants to share? Or how was it? How did you feel about it? Nothing to share? You are all fine? Yeah?
Yes, I'm just a bit concerned because when I was working with Julie, it wasn't finished, and then we had to come back to the breakdown room. We were just projecting all the feeling into that, all the emotion into the figure.
Hang on, all the emotion, was it more than one?
No, it was one.
Yeah, okay.
One emotion. I mean,
And
the emotion
yeah,
was putting her emotion into the object, and then we had to come back. So that makes me a little bit concerned about this work.
Julie, how she feels about that?
I'm okay. I actually just finished the visualization in my head for the first couple of seconds of this. So I filled it up and did it. So thank you, Alejandra.
Very good. So you can do that with yourself, right? You can do when an emotion comes, when you have identified an emotion, you can do that with yourself every time. Yeah. So was it easy for you to guide your client into that? Did you find that easy? Good, very good. So that's good. So is it as easy as that? Just follow the step and don't forget to come to the stage where you use the light to fill out the gap, so it can't come back. Hmm?
Maya, it is relevant to connect the emotion with a time in the life of the person, or is
No,
just the emotion?
no, that's not relevant. What comes up is important. What is important is that the emotion is clearly felt. It's not a faint idea there was something, it's felt. And this is why you want to connect your client with the situation as much as you can, so so they can reconcile with this emotion and they feel it while you are doing the healing session. And that's important. And this is why you also want to create an object that that is very detailed, so they can really connect with that. And if you might have noticed, all these questions that I asked Rocio, they were not what am I saying? They were not assumptions, right? So you ask, what is it object? What consistency? You're not saying, is this a flower, or is it? You leave it open. You want your client to see it in front of their inner eyes. You don't want to give them something. I mean, you can, but it's better they see for themselves. And as more they have to describe it, as more real it becomes for them. So then they describe it, they can almost feel it and touch it, and then it is much easier to give the emotion over to there. If you would say, okay, now let's say the color red, and you do say, now see in 10-meter distance, you see a red door where you now throw your motion in and you see the door closing. And you would think that's basically the same thing. It's not, because you are doing the whole work for your client, you know? And now your client is in his mind, not in the emotion, in the mind. It's all created. Those scenarios follow. You create the scenario for your client. The client is following it mentally and think the emotion is released, but it's not, because the client needs to feel the emotion and do the work. Every client in our work is healing themselves. They do the work. We are not. That is Reiki. Somebody's just lying there and you do all the work. That is not to go to the source. It is all self-healing. The client has to do the work. You are guiding. So as more your client sees the emotion, feels the emotion, sees the home of the emotion, and you know, and helps the emotion to go there as better. Okie dokie. So I think I see you all tomorrow. Have a restful
Thanks,
day.
Maya.
Good night.
Or
See you
good night.
tomorrow.
See you.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.